Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu,
varenagam adbhuta shringam dalita hiranyakashipu tanubringam keshavadrita narahari rupa jaya jagadisha hare jai jagadisha hare jai jagadisha hare.
Tavakara kamala varenagam adbhuta shringam dalita hiranyakashipu tanubringam keshavadrita narahari rupa jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare jai jagadisha hare.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana. Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Suravangsha Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
Om Harihi Om. Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the live stream Satsangha of the International Sanatana Dharma Society. As people can see, we are having a special live stream today, very specifically. Our usual live stream is every Sunday at 2 p.m., but we're meeting today on a Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Time, Vedic Heartland Time, for a very special reason. Today is Holy Name Day. And let me be clear about this. This is not a traditional Vedic holiday that's been celebrated for thousands of years. Rather, this is something that the International Sanatana Dharma Society began doing several years ago on this date, December 26th of each year. And this day has a very, very special purpose. It takes place a day after Christmas, and it takes place right before the New Year. And the reason why we do this is severalfold, actually. First of all, indeed, to ring in the new year and to pray to God that the coming year, and in this specific case, this specific time, that being 2024, that this coming year will be a truly wonderful and auspicious time for all of God's devotees, all of the devotees of Sriman Narayana. So this is what we pray for, is that again, this coming year, which will be in 6 days, basically, six and a half days, we're praying that this next year will be wonderful for everyone. It will be a blessing. It will be auspicious for all people, both materially and spiritually. But more than this, we do a Harinama Yagya on this day. That is, that ourselves in our temple here, and we have a temple with wonderful devotees here, but also all those individuals viewing live from throughout the world. And just very quickly, briefly looking at the chat, I recognize many, many names, and we have people from throughout the world, because I recognize many of the names who are here. From the UK, from Iceland, from just so many different places all over the world, certainly across the United States and Canada, etc. And I want to thank you all for being here. What we are going to do is we're going to do a meditation together, all of us here at the temple, but then we ask you at home, wherever you are, to please join us. And what we're going to be doing is reciting the Tiru mantra, the mantra Om Namo Narayanaya, and we will be reciting this 108 times. And most, if not all, of our devotees here have their beads with them. I will be using my beads to keep count. If you have beads, please feel free to use them. If you don't, please don't worry about it. For those of you who know how to count on your fingers, you can do this. But just, kind of meditate with us. Don't worry about it. We will keep track of this. Now, let me explain why specifically we are invoking the holy names of God. First of all, the holy names of God are precisely that. They are holy, they are sacred, and they are sacred not just because we say so, but due to truly scientific and metaphysical reasons, actually. As I've explained this to people in the past, everyone has a name. Who doesn't have a name? Everyone has a name. Well, our names, that is the typical normative human being, let's say, let's not deal with pets and other beings, let's just talk about humans. With all of us, our name is something that is relative. In other words, our parents gave us a name. Well, they could have given us many names. They could have given us a different name. Our name and who we are intrinsically in our absolute essence do not correspond. There is not a correspondence between the two. This is true for everything. This is true for cup, microphone, chair, this, that, wall, building, whatever you can point to. Whatever material object you can point to has a name, but that name is relative. Why? Because it was given that name within the context of time, A, and B, that very same object will be called hundreds and hundreds of different things in accordance with the language. Thus, the name and the thing, materially speaking, are relative. Now, when we speak about God, we're speaking about a radically different phenomenon. God being an eternal being, and not just an eternal being, the eternal being, the source of all eternality, God being absolute, anything related to God, God's attributes, God's accoutrements, etc., unlike us, are non-different from God. So thus, this is what I ask people, just as a very simple example. When were you given your name? No, some of us know, oh, I'm such and such age. Oh, I was given my name that long ago by my parents. God being eternal, having never come into existence, when was God given his name? Was God given his name? No. No. God being karana, karanam, being that which is the cause of all causes, God was not given his name. God's name and God are the same. They are co-absolute. This being the case, when we recite the names of God very specifically, unlike any other material word we can think of, when we recite the name of God very specifically, we are reciting that sound vibration, which is co-absolute, which is non-different from God. That being the case, to be in the sonic presence of God's name is the same as being in the presence of God himself. So this is why to recite the names of God is the most powerful practice that we can do. This is why mantra meditation is what it is. The most important, the most popular, quote-unquote, meditation that exists on the face of the earth. Is because when we're reciting the name of God, we are quite literally communing with, presencing God in our life. So this is what we're going to do. And again, briefly, let me explain what the effect of this is. We're living in a very interesting world. The world has always been interesting for those intelligent enough, aware enough to recognize that. It's a very interesting world, always has been. But in 2023, the tail end of 2023, what is about to be the beginning of 2024, we know that we are especially living in very interesting times. That's a very neutral word, interesting. We're living in crazy times. We're living in a time where, indeed, we know that there is tremendous good that is out there in the world, and especially in the form of people, real people, good people, honest people. That is the vast majority of citizens of our world. Most are good. Most are innocent. Most mean well. Most want to love. They want to love their families, their friends. They want to give to the world. That's the majority of people. These people are our brothers and sisters. These people are our family. But then we also know that there's evil in the world. Tiny minority of individuals. There's good, there's bad. Several of the things that we wish to do with this global meditation that we're about to do is, first of all, we want to defeat evil. And this is not hyperbole. This is not hyperbole. We are going to defeat evil with God's empowerment, with God's blessing. We are going to defeat evil. And this Harinama Yagya that we're about to do is one process by which we will do so. By taking shelter of the names of God, by allowing God to work through us, evil will be defeated. That's, one could say, the negative. I don't see it as a negative. I see the defeat of evil as a positive. But dealing with the overtly positive, we also want to usher in a golden age. And this golden age is imminent. This golden age is imminent, more than people understand. It's not magic, it's destiny. But the way that a golden age comes about is precisely not through magic. It comes about due to God's grace, but also due to all of us being empowered by God in such a way that we bring about the golden age. That we are empowered, that we work hard, that we do seva, that we do everything that we need to do to help to ensure that goodness reigns in this world. So that is also why we're going to be doing this meditation. So with all this in mind, let us now do the meditation. Before we begin, let me explain to people precisely what we will be doing. Again, for those of us, which is almost everyone here present, but I know many people who are watching right now from throughout the world, many of us have beads. These are my personal beads. And what we're going to do is first We're going to be in sacred silence, focusing on our breath for about roughly 2 minutes, more or less. The exact time doesn't really matter. But first we're going to focus on breath. Then, after some time, out loud, everyone will recite the mantra. If you are at home and you wish to recite it in your mind, that's perfectly fine. Everyone here will be reciting out loud, and everyone to their own speed, to their own volume, etc. It's not that you have to do it exactly the way I'm doing it. We're not doing it in unison, but rather individual japa. If you have beads, again, feel free to use them. These are my beads, and I will be using these very specifically. And as I do in my own personal meditation, I will actually keep the beads in my bead bag. And then after we're done reciting mantra for 108 times, then at that point, again, we'll have silent breath concentration for roughly 2 minutes or so. So with that, everyone prepare yourselves. And again, we will begin first. We're going to begin first with silent breath concentration. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namo Om Namo Narayanaya. 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 Om Namo Narayanaaya. 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 Everyone together. Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Very good. Wonderful. For those who are new to meditation of any kind, any authentic meditation, any real meditation, this is how we do meditation. This is how we do meditation. And especially, very specifically, mantra meditation done in authentic form. Now, the names of God can be recited without rules or regulation. In other words, could one recite the names of God while driving a car? Yes. Can one recite the names of God while walking through nature? Double yes, even better yes. Can one recite the names of God while, and so many different scenarios that we can think of, while at work, while cooking, while eating, at least in our minds, eating with the mouth and in the mind, reciting the names of God? Absolutely, yes. But for dhyana, what is called dhyana proper, that is for actual meditation as a sadhana practice, how we did meditation tonight, this evening, this is how it's done. The only difference being that it will vary whether some people will say the mantra literally out loud with their mouth, some will whisper it a little bit lower, or some will say mantra in their mind. That will vary in accordance with the person and their expertise in saying mantra. But otherwise, what you saw today, for those of you who are somewhat new to mantra meditation, this is how it is done. As meditation. So as dhyana proper, that is as a meditation practice, you're not walking around nervously with a bead bag in your hand chanting japa. You're not chanting japa and having half a conversation with someone and then going back to japa, looking at something, having japa, walking around, having japa, checking your watch, doing japa. That's not meditation proper. Now, it's always good to recite the names of God, no matter what you're doing. But to claim that that is meditation, no, it's not. So for those individuals who want to engage in actual japa meditation, mantra meditation, this is how we do it. We do it indeed meditatively. This is why in every ancient depiction, interestingly, in Sanatana Dharma, in Buddhism, in Jainism, in every ancient depiction of yogis, of bhaktas, of individuals who are rishis, etc., what do you see? If they're depicted meditating, they're sitting in a way approximating this. And as they're meditating, they're not half meditating, half watching TV. No, they're meditating. Nothing else exists. They are sitting, they're not moving, they're not fidgeting nervously. No, they're sitting like a rock, like a mountain, not moving, with their eyes closed, in a quiet environment, focusing on one and only one thing, and that is the name of God. Nothing else exists. Not even the thought that, oh, I'm meditating on the name of God. Isn't this nice? Oh, I hope this benefits me, etc. No, there's nothing going on in the mind. Rather, there is absolute, perfect, focused awareness upon the names of God and nothing else. And one maintains this state of awareness from the beginning of meditation to the end of the meditation session. So this is how we meditate yogically, as Vaishnavas. As Vaishnavas. So, all that being said, I'm looking once again at the chat here, and again I recognize many of the individuals who are here. I see Vaishnavi has joined us, and Siddhartha Patel, so many wonderful individuals. At this point, since we do have a little bit of time, even though just 2 days ago we had a Q&A session, I want to give people the opportunity to ask some questions, and not for long. We have about 10 minutes, something like that. So indeed, for the next 10 minutes or so, I want to see, does anyone either out there throughout the world have any questions? Anyone here in our temple, if anyone has any questions about anything relating to Sanatana Dharma, either meditation or quite literally anything philosophical that is a question about Sanatana Dharma. Please feel free to ask. And as I always have to tell people, there's a little bit of a 20-second delay. This is kind of humorous, actually. I don't mean to make fun of this person who asked this question previously as we were meditating, but someone asked, is there no sound? No, we were meditating. The sound is coming through loud and clear, but we were meditating, so therefore we were in silence. But with that, just as a funny aside. Very nice. Here's Varsaga, who I recognize very well. Namaste to you. I'm glad that you're here. You ask a very good question. Namaste, Acharyaji. How does one overcome urges to engage in unwholesome habits? Yes, good question that, of course, so many people struggle with. And those habits can be a variety, a myriad of many, many different sorts of habits. And let me just say that the best way to indeed overcome these urges is by fostering the opposite, by cultivating the opposite. Why do people engage in bad habits? And let me just give the short list, a very short list. Why would people do drugs? To this day it boggles my mind. Why would people do any kind of drugs? From something as innocuous and silly as smoking marijuana to hard drugs, meth and heroin, etc. Why would someone drink alcohol to the point of getting drunk every night? Why would someone, and then again and again, there's so many bad habits that an individual has. Well, the reason why they engage in bad habits is because there is emptiness inside them. There is lack. There is a lack. See, it's not necessary to live with these habits. What's the evidence of that? Well, whatever your specific habit is, there are people who are living without it. And for you, of course, that habit is the center of your life. Again, it can be video games, pornography, so many bad habits that we can list. Well, there are people who are living without these habits just fine. But why is it that people have any habits whatsoever? It's because there's something that's empty inside them. It's because they are individuals who find themselves in an environment, in a culture in 2023 that is meaningless. Let me just state that again bluntly. It's not merely that people have meaninglessness, they think there's meaninglessness in their own lives. No, our culture is meaningless. Modernity is meaningless. It is without meaning. It's a relativistic culture in which the idea is, everyone just do whatever you want and don't worry about the consequences. Well, it's as a result of this that indeed people feel very empty, and they're trying to fill that emptiness with something, some stimulation, some sort of bad habit. Well, the best way to rid ourselves of such habits is not merely by focusing negatively on the habit itself. We have to a little bit. Indeed, we have to reflect on, I've been doing this for however long, several years, however long, and it hasn't helped me. It hasn't benefited me. On the contrary, it's harmed me. It's hurt me. We have to contemplate this, the negative, and we have to say to ourselves, yes, I want to rid myself of this terrible thing that I've been doing that has only been harming me. On the one hand, but on the other hand, positively speaking, we need to fill that emptiness that is there inside us. Positively. And how do we fill that? In a variety of ways. What am I going to say? Well, of course, we have to fill it with God. Of course, we have to fill it with the spiritual. Interestingly, however, such simplistic answers, while 100% true, does not paint the full picture. Rather, yes, we are to fill our lives with God. We are to fill our lives with the spiritual. We must meditate every day. We must do puja every day. We must fill our minds with Krishna Leela, with the Leelas, with the stories of Krishna and Rama and all the avatars, etc. We are to do all of these positive things. But we are also to have lives that are successful. That means even quote-unquote materially. Are you in a relationship that is healthy? Do you have someone even? We need this. The vast majority of human beings, if you're a man, you need a wonderful woman who you can be in a loving, healthy relationship with. If you're a woman, you need a wonderful man who you're in a healthy, wonderful, meaningful spiritual relationship with. You need to have a career that satisfies you. A career where you think you're saying to yourself, I am doing something absolutely wonderful in every way. And I'm enjoying this. I am fulfilling myself materially. I'm making good money, etc., etc. So in other words, why do we have these habits? Because both spiritually and materially, we're empty. We don't have a life. So thus we try to construct an artificial one, either through stimulants or through fantasy. It's interesting how pre-internet, the way that people would attempt to fill themselves would be by drugs, alcohol, stimulants, trying to alter their consciousness, their awareness, etc. Interestingly, now for the past, roughly 25, 30 years, people try to artificially construct a world for themselves through video games and pornography. And of course, entertainment as well. There are people for whom their habit is entertainment. They can do nothing but watch television, watch movies for 8 hours a day, etc. Well, we are to, instead of living in fantasy, make our actual life something that is so wonderful that every bad habit that we have will simply melt away effortlessly. So indeed, this is what we are to do, is to have a life of success in every way. That means spiritually, have God in the center of our lives, but even again materially, have everything that you truly need in a healthy way to have full satisfaction. So I hope that answers the question for you. That was Varsaga. I hope that answers the question for you. We have a question here in our temple, please.
Namaste, Acharyaji. I just wanted to ask on behalf of someone else. Last week you gave a wonderful description and answer as to why we offer to Sri Radharani last. We offer to Lakshmi last in the puja because she is highest. And as a follow-up to that question, what would be the reason why we typically, to my knowledge, I think always say Lakshmi's name first when we say Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Shriman Narayana, Shri Shri Lakshmi Narayana? Thank you.
For the exact same reason. In other words, yes, in all Vaishnavism, this is what's interesting. This is not controversial. Indeed, anyone who would think it's controversial is not a Vaishnava. All the Sampradayas agree with this. Prabhupada said this, all the great gurus, that there is Shakti Shaktiman. Shakti is, let's say, the feminine aspect of God. Shaktiman is the masculine aspect of God. So therefore we have Shriman Narayana. Shriman being another name for Lakshmi, being the feminine aspect, and Narayana being more the masculine side of God. Now, interestingly, of the Shakti and the Shaktiman, metaphysically speaking and relationally speaking, all Vaishnavas agree with this. And for great depth of explanation, of course, a person needs to read my book, The Shakti Principle, where I go very in depth into this. Shakti is considered higher. The goddess principle, that is the feminine aspect of God, is considered to be higher. And for reasons that, again, I could give a lecture for an hour, or a person can read the Shakti Principle. And it's all explained there in exacting detail for why this is the case. But again, there's no debate about this. Every Vaishnava accepts this. That being the case, in worship, in puja, as I mentioned, you begin with the lowest, you go to the highest. So the highest being the Shakti of the Shakti-Shaktiman dynamic, you end with the Shakti. In addressing, you begin with the greatest first. So you have a couple, let's say materially speaking. It is now, of course, etiquette is non-existent. It's been thrown out of all culture, all society, all good custom. People don't know anything about this anymore. But with proper etiquette in just common society, when you address a couple, who do you address first? The primary person in the couple. This is simply the way it is. Dr. Bill and Sally Rutherford. You start with the masculine. Why? Because in common society, that is among humans, you're mentioning the most important person. And again, this is tradition. That means the man. Now, interestingly, when addressing God, you're still addressing the most important person first. But in this case, this is God. You're addressing the feminine first. So Radha Krishna, Sita Rama, etc. Sriman Narayana. So it's a matter of when you address a couple, spiritually speaking, you're addressing the most important first. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Very good. Yeah, and again, if people want to know more about this, very in depth, The Shakti Principle is a book that I wrote some time ago. It's available at dharmacentral.com. And I go more in depth into not just the feminine aspect of God, but the interplay between the masculine and feminine, that is Shakti, Shaktiman, than has been done in any other book in existence. And people who have read the book will attest to that in 1 second. So get that book when you have a chance. Go to dharmacentral.com. Good? All right.
Thank you, Acharya-ji.
My pleasure. And we're a little bit over time, but maybe I'll just see if there are 1 or 2 more questions that I can take. Good. Let me answer this because it has to do with specifically what we did tonight, and that is mantra meditation. And the question is, Namaste, and thank you for this wonderful stream. It is my pleasure. Is it important to get the right tone in your meditation? I tend to say the names of God in a very low voice, but I worry that this is wrong. Very good. As far as tone, let me tell you, tone is of much less importance than anything else. There are several factors where I tell people all the time, and this is the traditional teaching, that these things will vary from person to person and they don't matter while doing the meditation. Tone is one of them. So indeed, you can do it in a very low voice, you can do it in a higher voice, a normal voice, it doesn't matter. So please don't worry about that. The other thing is the volume. Volume does not matter. That really is truly in accordance with the person. You see, everyone has a different voice. There's even voice recognition software. Everyone has their own voice. That being the case, some people naturally, it's just who they are, they tend to speak a little bit, with a little bit less volume. Some people speak with tremendous volume. There are some people who they'll walk into a room and they're just speaking normally, but you're wondering, what's happening over there on the other side of the room? It's just a normal volume for them. And then also speed is of importance, is important to talk about as well. Some people will recite the mantra slower, some will recite the mantra faster. So there is no hard and fast rule as far as speed as well. Let me just say one thing about the speed, however. One thing that is true is you do not want to say the mantra too fast. You can say it pretty slow. Indeed, I've known people who say the mantra very, very slowly. much slower than we did tonight. That is fine. If you're enunciating the mantra very well, listening very well, in fact, if anything, saying it a little bit slower is indeed quite meditative. However, there is such a thing as saying the mantra too fast. The important thing is this, that you are truly meditating upon the sound vibration of the mantra. So you are focusing on the sound. Now, if you're saying the mantra very quickly, like speed reciting, you're not going to be able to concentrate. You're not going to hear the mantra, and in a way, it's actually quite disrespectful. So for this reason, you don't want to go too fast. But again, other than that, how fast you say it, how loud you say it, the tone, these things are of not even tertiary importance. So please don't worry about that. Give me one moment. I might just take one, maybe two more questions. Very good. I'm going to take two more questions because this one I can answer in about 30 seconds. This is Namaste Shri Acharyaji. If a Brahmana thread reaches one's knees, is it all right to double the loop over one shoulder again, shortening it by half when performing normal activities? Yes, indeed. The Brahmana thread should not hang too low, actually. In fact, at a certain point, it's disrespectful if it's too low. For a variety of reasons, just generally speaking, but then also it could touch the ground. So yes, to double loop it is perfectly fine. Absolutely. And now I will take just one more question, but give me a moment to see what is a good question here. Very good. Let me answer this very, very practical question, actually. And this will be the last question that we take, just due to time. And it is very good. It's a two-parter. It is Namaste Shri Acharyaji. Is it considered best and virtuous to marry as fast as we are able to in Sanatana Dharma? I've heard that in India, people are marrying much younger, whereas here, people are often over 30 and are married. Very good. Let me answer this question, actually. First of all, as far as what people do in India, we couldn't care less. We don't care what people do in other countries whatsoever. Cultures are cultures. Cultures are all different. Some cultures, people will get married when they're 50. Some will get married at 13. We don't care what cultures do. I will give you the standard as far as Sanatana Dharma is concerned. This idea of, the second that you're able to, you immediately run and get married. No, that's actually not traditional in Sanatana Dharma, but neither is the opposite, what is practiced in modernity. That is, people wait until they're 39 and they get married. No, that's not the accepted norm either. Rather, before an individual even gets married, there is preparation of the individual. So we know, for example, a person goes through brahmacharya, where they are a student, and they are a student all throughout their teens. And it varies. In some cases, people are still a student when they're 20, 21 years old, as is the case in the modern West as well. We know that people will be college students, for example. Sometimes a person is a student even a little bit later. Sometimes they stop being a student at 18, so it will vary. But first, the person prepares themselves. And then at that point, when they are ready to commence on a career path, to indeed have the maturity level that is of importance, to have a healthy relationship and thus a healthy marriage, then they get married. Now, let me talk about how marriage should be done today, very specifically in 2023, 2024. And again, as Vedic practitioners, regardless of where we find ourselves, in India, in the UK, in America, in Japan, in Korea, in Vietnam, in Russia, in Austria, in Germany, in Sweden, etc., etc., etc. Don't worry, I'm not going to mention every nation on earth. But just to give people the understanding, we are practicing a religion, not an ethnicity. So this is why I said earlier that, we don't care what is done in contemporary times today in India. We're following Sanatana Dharma, not India, we don't care what the fashion is in Mumbai right now. We care about what Sanatana Dharma, i.e. the Vedic scriptures, teach us, and specifically how it applies to our day and age. Again, two individuals who are ready to be married, that is, they're either late teens or in their early 20s, let's say. Number one, they should lay the foundation for which they will have a very healthy and long-standing, that is, for the rest of their lives, marriage. What does this mean? Spiritually, they have to be prepared. Spiritually, they have to be on the same page. They have to be both followers of Sanatana Dharma. And there is no question about this. Religiously mixed marriages don't work. Period. Unless the two so-called religious people of two different religions, neither of them practice their religion seriously, if they're nominal. So a nominal Christian who couldn't care less about Christianity marrying a nominal Hindu who couldn't care less about Hinduism, religion doesn't matter to them anyway. But if you have two people who are religious, a religious Christian marrying a religious Hindu, it's not going to work. So indeed, we have to have two individuals following Sanatana Dharma who get married, so they're on the same page spiritually, but also even materially. They both should have completed their education. They both should have the same expectations. They have to talk beforehand and talk about their future. What are our expectations as individuals? What do we want to do? Where do we want to live? What kind of healthy lifestyle do we want to have? Do we want to live in a suburb? Do we want to live in the countryside? How are we going to pool our resources? What are we going to do with our money? What are our priorities? We absolutely want children. There's no reason to get married unless you're going to have children. How many children? How are we going to raise our children? Will we have them go to public school for maybe first, second, third grade as quick as possible, then get them out and homeschool them, which is the best? Or are we going to homeschool them from the very beginning, which is even better, etc.? So the couple, they need to discuss all these things before they even get married. Then they get married, again, not in a, as you stated, very fast way, like, running toward a border, running toward a goal, too quickly. But no, in a deliberative sort of way, they are indeed to get married, having discussed all these things, having known each other for quite some time, and knowing that, the man looks at the woman he's in love with, and he understands her nature, and he understands, yes, this is a virtuous woman, a good woman. She wants to be with me for the rest of our lives, and vice versa, that the woman looks at the man and says, this is a man I can have faith in. I have faith in this man, that this man is going to protect me, that this man truly loves me, that this man is not going to fall astray, and in 10 years when I'm a little bit older, he's going to start looking at other women, etc. No. They need to know each other. They need to trust each other. They need to have faith in each other in every way. And in this way, they will have a healthy foundation for a true marriage and family. So this is how it's done. Sanatana Dharma, and this is what attracted me, one thing of hundreds, that attracted me to Sanatana Dharma very, very early on when I was 10 years old. It is infinitely reasonable and intelligent and rational and common sense. Thus, this is why I've explained this in this way to you. This is the Vedic standard for getting married. Very good. So all that being said, sadly, I need to stop here. I've been taking a lot of questions from people last week, but then also a few days before then on Discord. I had a Q&A session where I answered people's questions for about an hour and a half. Did you raise your hand? All right. One more question from one of our people here. Speak nice and loudly so people can pick it up.
So since we're going into the new year, I was wondering if you could share with people what might be the best thing or a couple of things to focus on for the new year. Good question. Very nice. And yes, because you were a little far, I'll just repeat. You were asking, since we're going into a new year,
what are one or two things that people should focus on going into the new year? Very good. That is a good question, actually, and that is definitely very appropriate. Let me say that there are certainly several things that people should focus on going not just into a new year, but very specifically going into this new year coming up in, again, about 6 days. And that is 2024. The number one thing to focus on for all individuals, for all families, is we need to focus on God completely. We need to focus on Sriman Narayana, on Bhagavan Sri Krishna with all of our will, with all of our awareness, with all of our being, like we never have. The reason why is because A, that's always the answer anyway. That is what we should be doing anyway. But very specifically, as I've been attempting to tell people, and as I've said, and I've done this more and more, I'm telling people this. 2024 is going to be an extremely challenging year. And interestingly, no one has ever tried to contradict me on this. I think everyone knows this. Everyone has this sense. I've had no one protest and say, oh, how do you know that's the case? Oh, I disagree. No, I think 2024 is going to be a wonderful year. No one disagrees with this. No one intelligent, at least, disagrees with this. 2024 is going to be an extremely difficult year. It's going to be very challenging, first and foremost in America, actually. But what America does affects the world. There's no way around this. This is just a brute fact. What America does affects the rest of the world. What happens in America, the rest of the world follows. So for the entire world, 2024 is going to be a very chaotic year. It's going to be a year of tremendous fear, a year of terrible things going on politically, culturally, economically. Economically, things are going to become very, very bad. It's going to be a year of enormous fear and trepidation on the part of individuals who, sadly for them, they get all of their information about what is happening in the world from mainstream media. Oh, they're going to be scared to death about the things that they're going to see over the course of the next year. We're going to see things over the course of 2024 that we truly have never seen before. That's already been the case for the last several years. We've seen instance after instance after instance. If you're awake and watching what's happening, we've seen things that have not occurred before, except back to back to back to back. Well, 2024 is going to make the last, let's say 10 years look like nothing in comparison. This 1 year coming up. All this being the case, it is imperative that, again, we as individuals, but then your groupings of people, whether you're in a family or your grouping of friends, etc., it is important that, like at almost no other time in history, we focus on God. What does this mean? It's one thing to say that. What does that actually look like? It means redouble your meditation. Meditate every day. Meditate more. Meditate longer. Read the scriptures like you've never read them before, especially Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Read these works, but if you can, others, read Mahabharata, Ramayana, etc. It means that more than anything, in a very personal sort of way, internally surrender who you are to God. And also understanding that God himself in the Bhagavad Gita tells us, Ma shuchaha, do not fear. And this leads to the second thing that we are to focus on. We are to focus on being courageous, and not in the typical way that people mean this alone. Not just being courageous, meaning that, yes, everything's falling apart around me, but, I will try to muster up some kind of courage, etc., like a warrior. Yes, no, that too. But being courageous, meaning especially spiritually, that we understand not just that I must overcome fear, but more that there is nothing to fear. That's how we become courageous spiritually, is by understanding that ultimately, within the context of eternity, there is nothing to fear. How can there be anything to fear? Myself being a devotee of who? Of that being who exists in every single atom, of that being who is the source of all reality, both spiritual and material. That being is with me right now in my heart as Paramatman. Understanding this, we understand that, not only are we to, quote unquote, muster up the courage to do what we need to do in this world, to fight for good, but more, there's nothing to fear. That's why Krishna says these two words, and they're more profound than we think. He says, Ma shuchaha, do not fear. Fear? No, don't fear. I mean, think of how Krishna is saying this, not just verbally, but as far as intentionality. Do not fear. There's nothing to fear. Krishna is with us. These are the things we need to focus on. One last thing. Having surrendered to God, having understood there is nothing to fear, then with that fearlessness, that spiritual transcendental fearlessness as our shield, as our kavacham, as our armor, we go out into the world and we help others to awaken. We help others to experience fearlessness. That's the third thing that we are to focus on in 2024. What are we going to see? We're going to see people around us panicking. We're going to see people around us indeed in fear, confused, worried, legitimate worry. Are we about to embark on World War III? Are we about to have a nuclear war? Hundreds of millions of people at a certain point, by a certain date, in 2024 will be wondering this. People will be in fear. It is up to us to allay their fear. It is up to us to speak with them, whether in person, people we know but who are close to us, online, wherever. And we are to help them. We are to figuratively take them by the hand, put our arms around them and say, listen, God is with us. There's no reason to fear. I know it looks scary now, but in the end, no. God wins. Truth wins. Dharma wins in the end. Oh, and there's no reason to fear. This is what it means to surrender to God, is that we know this. We don't just think it. We don't just exercise it. We know it. We know it. So does this answer your question? You're welcome. Very good. Well, we are definitely over time now by about 23 minutes or so. So we will end here. Just a few very quick things that I must say before we end. Again, the new book is indeed out, Radical Universalism. If you have not gotten a copy yet, again, everyone, to my knowledge, who has communicated with me after reading this book, getting a copy of it, and reading through it, they will all attest that this is a book unlike any other. If you want to understand what is authentic Sanatana Dharma versus many ideas that have just kind of appeared over the last 200 years that people think are central tenets of Sanatana Dharma, and they're not. If you want to know the difference, read this book, and you will understand what is authentic Sanatana Dharma versus many, many very recent ideas that sadly crept in and that people think actually represents the Vedic way, and these ideas do not. So Radical Universalism. Radical Universalism. Please get this book when you can. The other thing is, I must say, it is my duty to do so as the very unworthy leader of the International Sanatana Dharma Society. Let me just say this, that again, we are in the midst of our fundraising campaign. The International Sanatana Dharma Society is a movement, an organization unlike anything that exists on the planet today. I don't say that lightly because I've studied such organizations and movements since I was a child. And there is nothing like the International Sanatana Dharma Society. Our goal is to restore not just quote-unquote Hinduism, not even just the Vedic way. Our goal is to re-establish Sanatana Dharma and Vedic civilization and every single facet of that civilization, the way that it was practiced in the Dvapara Yuga today and throughout the world. That is what our movement is dedicated to. It's not just a sect with our own little philosophical ideas, blah, 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 our own little dogmas. No. This is a movement that transcends, interestingly, even religion itself. Our goal is to affect every single sector of the human experience. To do that, we need help. There is no positive, idealistic movement upon the face of the earth that doesn't need generous support. We need your generous support. Please donate to the International Sanatana Dharma Society right now if you can, the second that this live stream is over. Our fundraising campaign goes on technically, officially, until December 31st at 11:59 p.m. on the 31st. So just another 6 days or so, something like that. But please don't wait until the last second. Donate as soon as you can, and as is within your means. I always have to tell people this. This is the difference between real religion versus a cult. A cult doesn't care if you end up in poverty on the street. Give us your money. Give us your money. No, we always tell people as is within your means. If you're having difficulty economically, please donate nothing. Please take care of yourself. Take care of your family. If you can donate $5 somehow, you do without a latte one day. That's actually about $7 or $8 now, isn't it? But if you can spare $5, please do so. But if you're doing well, if you're a doctor, if you're a business individual, and you know that easily you could just donate $10,000 on the spot, $1 million on the spot, please do so. Whatever you can donate to the International Sanatana Dharma Society, we will be extremely grateful for. I will be extremely grateful for. $5, $5 million, anything in between. And the other thing is, I guarantee you every single penny will be used for good. Every single penny will be used for good. So with that, we will indeed be having our normal live stream this coming Sunday. Please join us for that when that day comes. And it will be right before New Year's Day. I believe it will be New Year's Eve when we will be having our live stream on Sunday. So with that, I thank you all very much for being here, for participating in Holy Name Day. And we will do another Holy Name Day next year, December 26th again. We look forward to seeing you then for that. But again, in the interim, join us on Sunday for our usual live stream. With that, everyone, namaste. Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
Victory, victory, victory to Dharma. Evam Bhavatu. May such victory be so. And so it shall be. With that, everyone, I ask you that in every way you please take very good care of yourselves.